man, the thing that I was just most passionate about was telling a story through film, beginning, middle, and end, creating characters, creating, worlds or narratives that people could relate to, people could see themselves in, people could wrestle with, characters that people loved, characters that people hated, characters that like illuminated a different perspective for people. The best leaders are really good servants. I've been blessed, again, I've been in ministry a long time, and now I'm in quote unquote leadership roles, but I know what it was like to be the service guy. I know it was like to have someone change the whole project the night before, and you're like, bro, I gotta be up till 2 a.m. now making that call. I know what the like decisions you make as a leader, how that impacts everyone down the line. I also, as a leader, then want to serve the people below me. I like, sometimes we gotta do what we gotta do, but sometimes it's like, okay, this decision and how it impacts people, like thinking through that. And I think that God is moving in a way that the media, arts, creativity is going to be essential for the church in this next season. And we've got to, back to the point, we got to get ready. We need to build the right environment for creatives to do what they do best.
We can't treat them like another staff member.
No.
They need to be treated as an artist.
Creatives for a while have not been pastored well, and they've not been resourced well, and they're not being listened to. And so that's why a lot of these young men and women, they try and hold on for as long as they can. They love their church, they love their community, they wanted to see their gifts used, and they've tried for a long time, and after a while they just go, I can't. And
they can't keep up.
They can't keep up.
Because the process to get it done and what it takes out of their heart and soul to get it done and the amount of time that they're allotted doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, there are some things that cannot be accomplished with the expectations that are given. And I think art and creativity will come back to what is church.
It's my dad was a DJ and a radio host for like 4 or 5 years.
Where at?
So the radio station was in Moreno Valley, up in the base. It was like actually a military. That's not true. It was on the military base, but I don't actually know if it was a military show. But yeah, it was this like it was an hour-long show. They would play music, gospel music, whatever stuff, and so yeah, he had this whole little alter ego. It was mad funny, bro. It's funny when you're a kid.
He was on radio every day for 5 years?
No, it was a weekly show. It was like on Sundays.
Okay.
And so for 4 or 5 years, it would come on Sundays. He would like DJ and like, you're like, oh, this is a new artist. I want y'all to hear, da, da, da. And so, for a season, I don't actually know why, because I was pretty young when this happened, but for a season, he ended up moving all the equipment to the house. And so he would like record certain things from the house, and then we record the show on these tape, these crazy 8-tracks, and then he would drive the tracks over to the radio station, and they would play it from there. It was like it was a wild situation.
How old do you think you were?
It's funny because I haven't thought about that in years, but yeah. How old was I?
Yeah.
Ooh. 10, 11.
And so.
And yeah, like probably right into my high school years.
And you'd be practicing the radio voice. How would your dad cue you up? And then can you remember the type of thing that you would say?
It wasn't like live. So he would be
totally.
He would have a rundown, and he'd be like, he would do it. And he was like, okay, watch me, and like da 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 da. And he was like, all right, you want to practice? So he would turn it on, and it was crazy because he hit record and he would spool up the little things, and then we would record and he'd play it back for me. He would be like, okay, you see how you stumble over these words here, or you see how your inflection in your voice is here? Like, okay, we would do it, and then we turn it back and we do it again. And so, and like there was like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember there was one thing that like he put in the show one time. It was like some intro. It was like, and no one knew, but it was like, yo, that was me. And I was like, yo, that's super fire. So, yeah, it's funny. I hadn't thought about that memory in probably 10 years.
Okay, you got to do me the favor, since you're on Divine Persuasion Radio.
Hit me.
And your dad taught you how to talk on radio. It doesn't even need to be for this episode, but just give me your best radio voice for some sort of intro.
Okay.
You can make it, I guess, just make it for our episode.
Okay.
Let's go.
We are here in beautiful San Diego, California, with the one, the only, Wendell, McKinney, and George Coletrain, as we're hanging out for a conversation about what we're going to talk about today. I don't even know. I was waiting for a rundown, never got it, but we're going to talk about whatever. It's going to be fun.
Oh my God.
For those of you watching, listening, wherever you're listening to, hope you're having an amazing day wherever you're at. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be fun. We got an amazing crew back here. We've got Danny on the ones and twos. We got Connor, who's doing something, but it looks so important. I don't even know what it is, but it's mad important. And then everyone, one time, give it up for the cameraman, the most important person in the room, the person that this doesn't happen without him. With his beautiful gold Casio watch, this man is looking fly. Flower guy. Is that okay? Quick question. Is that a
Jonah the brand?
Oh, Jonah the brand. I was about to ask.
Were you here when Corbin was here a moment ago?
I popped in, but no.
Yeah, he's here today. He's going to record. He's starting his show.
Yeah, I've been
Ask
seeing. I followed him kind of off of the last time, I followed you guys' Instagram and I'm seeing his stuff, but no, his stuff is mad dope.
He's incredible. He's like my best friend. We actually, I'm a part of Church Home.
Yes.
Been attending there for a long time.
For sure.
Since being in the Valley, we kind of help with the Church Home experience thing there. But we met at Church Home probably 2017-ish.
Okay.
And then my first day, I think I told you I worked at PushPay, the giving platform for churches. My first day, having only hung out with Corbin in a group setting, like we'd never had any one-on-one interaction really, besides just what's up at church, like dapped it up. I sit down right next to him, and we just became homies. I think it took him like a week, he says, for him to realize I was sincere.
Happen, yeah.
But I think it was really like a day. And then we go to his house every day at lunch and play 2K.
Okay.
I forced him to help me coach my nephew in flag football. And then he left to go to New York, where he ended up starting his brand, and then I ended up moving to LA.
So he's up in LA right now still.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
But he's the best.
That flower guy, I made me think of the Tyler the Creator, and I was like, I was like, wait, is this? But I was like, that's a.
What was Tyler's album?
No, his is Which one is it? Flower Boy. Yeah, that's what it threw me off, and in mid-sentence I was like, wait, no, it's not Flower Guy, Flower Boy. That's right. Tyler, man, we love Tyler.
Dude, that guy is an insane creative.
He's on a different level, dog.
Yeah, literally a different stratosphere for understanding making things.
For sure.
It's like kind of in a category of his own.
You know, it's funny. Like I feel like I've been him and obviously Frank and all those guys. Like they just.
What was their crew called again? Odd Future.
Odd Future, yeah, Odd Future. And but yeah, they've kind of I feel like they've all kind of branded themselves as individuals in their kind of genre of music.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that the world's embraced them in their own unique way because for a while, I remember when they first started kind of doing it, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work.
For real?
And they were just so unique. Like it was like when they were together, it was cool, but Frank hit it off right off the bat. But Tyler had his fans, but like his commercial success, I did not see that coming. And I'm like, bro, that Igor album was crazy, and his last one was crazy too. But
what year was that? I think he was probably up against, all the bigger hip hop artists when he won the Grammy, and the whole crew went on the stage with him, and he seemed like he was so young at the time.
Yeah, that wasn't Cherry Bomb. That was early.
Yeah, it was super. Everyone was shocked.
Super early. Yes,
like the whole room was shocked that Tyler won.
I mean, he had to be that was definitely what 2000 and that was maybe 2016, 2017. I mean, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Because Igor came out, I think I was 2019, and that was definitely before that.
Are you a hip hop guy? Like,
I love music. I love music, and hip hop for sure. Like I would say that it sounds terrible because it feels like I'm about to sound like an old dude, but I feel like a lot of the last 5 years, a lot of the new people I don't really listen to anymore. But hip hop had a big role in raising me when I was, high school and
in the Bay Area growing up.
No, just from around. I mean, I was living overseas, so I lived overseas for 7-8 years of my life, and then we moved to San Diego when I was about 9 years old.
So am I wrong? Did you not grow up in the Bay?
No, I didn't grow up in the Bay.
Okay.
No, the Bay is the one place that I would move to though.
Okay.
I love the Bay just from a creative standpoint. They're wild out there.
What do you mean?
Yeah, they just have their own. They have their own rhythm, their own beat, their own kind of language, and yeah, from a creative scene, I've always all the people that I've really connected with from Oakland or from the Bay Area, I vibe with them, and I'm always like, I don't know what's in the water up there, but I'd be coming down to check it out.
It's got to be cleaner.
I don't know. It's something, bro. It's funky, but I'm with it. So, yeah, no, I've been to the Bay, but I've never stayed in the Bay. But yeah, I'm San Diego. Like I said, I'm San Diego now for the last 22, 23 years. So it's home. I love it out here. Yeah, but I'm originally from Virginia Beach, East Coast.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah, and lived overseas, military kid, so that was a fun time. And yeah, San Diego, SoCal is it's its own unique thing. So you gotta, if you can't keep up with the pace here, like it's hard. But I mean, I love it here now, and I always flirt with leaving, but it's hard too. It's hard, like it's home. And
dude, the weather in Southern California.
I know
it's funny because I'm old enough now, bro. Like I lived in Seattle, and then now I'm living in the Phoenix area, and I love it.
Right.
But for 4 months of the year, no matter what Phoenicians will say, it's kind of unbearable.
Yes.
Definitely 2 months is pretty much like hell. It's Hades.
Sure.
And they'll say it's a dry heat. I'm like, sure, dog, but it's 117.
Right.
And it's midnight and it's 103.
One of my closest friends is from Phoenix, and she used to always tell stories of how like in the summer they would have to like keep oven mitts in their car. And I was like, bro, that's a whole different type of heat. Like, if that's the type of life you're living, like, nah, bro, that's wild. They're like, yeah, we keep oven mitts in the car for when you get to touch the steering wheel. And I was like, I never even thought that thought in my life, but that's crazy.
Bro, it's actually while Connor is unfortunately leaving me and going to Florida.
He's telling me give me the rundown.
And I'm excited for him, but we've actually laughed a lot about that exact subject matter where he's like, bro, it's going to be muggy in Florida and all that, but at least when I get into the car, it doesn't take an hour for it to cool down and I'm not getting burnt by the leather. Like my skin's not
San Diego,
off.
we're spoiled, man. We're spoiled. And that's the thing, bro. It's a wild life out here because you pay for it, and it's its own little vibe, but I mean, yeah, like you get what you pay for, and I mean, yeah, you can't beat it, right? Like you can be at the beach in 15 minutes. You can drive an hour and be in the mountains. You can drive 2-3 hours and be in the snow, desert. Like everything's accessible from SoCal.
Yeah.
And you get rad weather pretty much 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
It was raining last week, and everyone was crying. I was like, bro, it's the first time it's raining in like 6 months. I think we're gonna be all right. Like,
bro, but the funny thing about San Diegans, I think it's a little bit different in LA, but San Diego, because we're a little bit more, although it is a large city and there's a lot of humans that live in the county.
Sure.
It's more of a sleepy cousin to LA in so many ways. But the San Diegans really embrace that when it rains. Like everybody drives so slow, bro. It's like it would be equivalent to like what's happening in Nebraska when it's like
and it's like it's an hour drizzle. It's like not even like
oh no,
no, for sure.
What are we gonna do?
100%.
And then everyone's talking about there's so much oil on the ground. Because there's not enough rain to wash it off, so you have to be careful. So everyone's going on the 15 and the 5 like 3 miles per hour.
Listen, I will be the first to say it. SoCal, San Diegans, we're not cut out for the elements. You know what I mean? Like it's not our strong suit. All right, so. We can't all be perfect, but yeah. Bro, when the weather hits, it's wild, bro.
I am such a San Diegan at heart to where like people in Phoenix or Seattle when I was there, I'd be complaining and they're so used to it.
Sure.
I'm like, no, like this doesn't make sense. Like in Seattle, I'm like, when will the sun come back?
Right.
Like, why do I only see gray? Like, why do I feel like I'm Edward Cullen out here, like hiding from the sunlight? Yeah. And then in Phoenix, the first time we went there, I was so cold in the winter. I was like, nobody told me. Dude, this is crazy. Like, I legit need a scarf, dog.
Right.
Like, this is not okay. And then the summer rolls around. I'm like, dude, do you ever stop sweating?
Yeah.
Like everything has to be done inside. And I'm grateful. I love both of those places.
For sure.
I'm grateful to be in AZ, but there is nothing like San Diego weather.
No, for sure. It really is. And it's like, it's that stupid old adage, but yeah, you don't know what you have. Like I'm lucky to have a lot of amazing friends in creative spaces, and, they'll move or just maybe even be in different parts of the world for different seasons. And there's like that initial like excitement of doing something new, and almost always like after about 6 months to a year, they're like, yeah, we kind of miss San Diego. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's
it makes sense.
It's hard to leave, but yeah, man, it's cool. It's mad cool.
When did you first start getting into creative and content? Was it when you were pretty young?
No. So really funny. So all the honor and credit goes to my pastor, Pastor Jeff Moores. So Pastor Jeff Moores was my pastor at a church called North Coast here in San Diego, a pretty large church in North County, San Diego. Pastor Larry Osborne, Pastor Chris Brown, and so Jeff was the young adult pastor, and so I kind of strolled into the young adult ministry one random summer night, and within a few months.
How old were you at the time?
21.
Okay.
Either 20 or 21. Yeah. Nope. 20. I was 20.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 20. And so
the Nope got me so good. That's such good.
Bro, it's okay. Listen,
timing.
The older you get, and it sounds so cliche, but you start doing math in your head, and you're like, wait, what year is this? How old am I? And you're like,
I used to make fun of those guys. I'm like, dude, you're so
no,
old,
100%.
dog. Like, you don't remember what you were doing last summer?
People ask me how old I am, and I'm like, at third. What month are we in? Yeah, no, for real, it's a real thing.
No, bro, the fact that 2020 was 5 years ago, like you could tell me it was 10 years ago, be like, yeah. You could tell me it was 2 years ago, be like, yeah.
It's sad, but it's so true. So yeah, I was young, 20.
So you're 20.
Yeah. So I stroll
into this meeting or this.
The only media like training I took a photography class in high school that I for sure slept through, didn't know a lick. And Jeff, if people don't know Pastor Jeff, I mean he's incredible. He had a company called Think International at the time, and they were really big on interviewing pastors and just creating content for churches. Pastor Jeff and Sean Cannell, who's now Think Media. Yeah. So crazy. So Sean Cannell was in Jeff's youth ministry, and Jeff gave him a camera and was like, figure it out. And like Sean has obviously blown up, been incredibly influential in the creative space and tech space and in the church space as well. And so kind of the same kind of route with me, I meet him at this young adult ministry called the Jordan. And I had a real love for music and some other stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to college at Liberty University. And he was like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. And gave me a camera and said, hey, I think media is really important. I think you should give this thing a try. And I mean, as cliche as it sounds, like immediately fell in love. Like just immediately, I made my first video. It was funny. I remember I made this video, or like there was this color war at the young adult ministry, and someone gave me a camera and I edit this video. And it's funny because the guy who was the editor was like, make it short. Like make the video short. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna make this like a 1.5-minute edit, right? And so it's playing in this room of like 500 people, and I'm thinking this is the coolest thing ever. And I'm in the booth in the tech booth, and someone's like, this video sucks, who made this? And I was like, are you serious? Yeah, no, dude, but like immediately fell in love with telling story from a video standpoint was like, okay, I don't know anything about this. I couldn't tell you ISO from shutter speed or anything else, but was like, yeah, this is it. And so yeah, that was almost 15 years ago.
Bro, that story blessed me.
Yeah, bro, it was a funny. I remember being so gassed up, man, they gonna see how dope this edit is. And yeah, the person halfway into it was like, how long does this video go? It sucks, man. I'm sitting there almost I walk out the booth all right, maybe the guy was right. Maybe I should go shorter next time on my edits. And so,
oh my God.
But loved it. Was not deterred by that at all. Was like, man, this is, I don't know what this is. At that point in time, I had my eyes weren't open to media in the church. I didn't even know that was really a thing within churches. I grew up in a very small black Pentecostal church background.
In San Diego?
Yeah, well, all over, but yeah, in San Diego, most of my parents moved here. We were part of very traditional kind of what part
of San Diego County?
So we was up here, North Park for a little bit.
Okay.
If you don't know, yeah, so North Park for a little bit, and then we moved down to Oceanside, North County area, and so we did a lot of commuting around. But yeah, when you think of the movies and very Pentecostal churches, people falling out, flags, that was the church context I grew up in.
Was everyone dressed in suits?
Oh yeah. I wore a church suit all the way up until I was 15 years old.
Did you hate that, or did you like
it? Was for sure. I mean, you're there for 4 or 5 hours, you're sweating like a hog, and you're like, bruh, I just want to go home and watch cartoons, dog. I don't know what we doing out here. The food is not that cool. I'm ready to go home. And but it was just, it's what we did. It was the church, right? It was the church background. And so what was funny was around 20, I moved out of my parents' house and was like, okay, I want to try my own thing. And so even going to the church that Pastor Jeff was at, seeing 500 young adults and cameras and lights and hazers, I was like, what is this? This was crazy to me. It was such a just completely different experience from what I'd grown up with as a child. And again, someone giving me access, putting a camera in my hands and saying yo, you can create, you can use this gift for the glory of God was, truly eye-opening for me in a way that I just didn't even know that was possible. And I didn't even know I had a love for media and for creating like that until, like, I mean, I think that's the power of inviting people into spaces, is because it can completely change the direction of your entire life. And that happened to me at 20 years old. Kid didn't know a lick, thought ministry was all about being a pastor and, you know what I mean, and doing things of that nature, and had my eyes open. So it was really dope.
Dude, that story was a blessing to me. There was a minute where you were telling it where I was smiling so big my cheeks were hurting.
Yeah, man. We we're in the cheek hurting business. You know what I mean? Like, we are here to make smiles, make good times, and yeah, man. Like, it's funny. Like, I feel like a lot of people have similar stories, and I think that's why storytelling content like this is always cool, because it allows people to connect in a way of like, oh yeah, like I've had, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've had similar experiences like that, or I didn't, but that still blesses me and that, like, encourages me or just gives me a different perspective. And it's funny, especially for people who grew up in church. Like, there's so many just unique experiences.
Oh,
and
bro.
you know what I mean?
It's like a fraternity or a sorority of sorts. That, like, we didn't have to grow up in the same church. It didn't have to be the same stream.
But you had to be there to be there.
Instant relatability. Yeah. It's like, wait, did you have one of those moments too? Like, dude, craziness.
Even last time when I was here, I don't know, to break the fourth wall, but when we shot with Ron, like, just hearing some of that stuff and camp stories, I'm like, bro, like, yes, like, I've been there.
Dude, what's wild is, like, that's obviously true of the church space, but I even feel, dude, I'm so sorry I don't even remember this. Are you married?
I am. Yep, married.
And you have kids?
Got 2 boys. Okay. Been married for 9 years.
I remember now.
My amazing wife, Kaylee, holds it down. We just celebrated 9 years in January, and I got 2 boys. I round up, but they turned 6 and 3 here in the summer. 2 boys, Zion and Isaiah. Yeah, and so they keep it live in the house. That's for sure.
I love it. Yeah, same. But even to that point, I feel like once you're married, like, you're seasoned now. Like, you're not just like, you just got married yesterday. And there's no problem with that. You're just probably younger, or just new in that season. But, like, I'll be 12 years this year, and I have 3 babies, 1 on the way, right?
Talk about it. Tell them.
Bro, we're in it, right?
Yes.
But what I feel like, I don't know if you get these reels too, or like buddies will send them to you. I feel like also so many of us are like living like the same marriage.
The same, bro.
Like,
that's one of my favorite comments I put on stuff. I'm like, yo, we really are living the same life out here. Because I'm like, yo, I thought I was the only one to feel this way, but you start to feel sane. You're like, yep, all right, okay. Bro, we all think the same way.
Bro, not to go there, but I can't help it. Like, have you seen that Shannon Sharp meme where he's like, shake his head, like, go there, like, talking about like your wife wearing like your old t-shirt?
Oh, bro.
It's like,
and I'm
how
like,
is every dude I know relating to that?
I'm like, yo, listen, because I do the laundry I do my own laundry, right? And I'm like, yo, I need my clothes back. I bought that shirt because I want to wear that shirt. So every time I go to look for my stuff, I'm like, yo, man, I might start buying like 2 pairs of stuff because I really like that shirt.
It's like, bro, when I first got married, I grew up in a house of boys, and like, you better eat quick or your brother's gonna eat your food. And we don't really share. Like, I'm not getting my dish and you get yours and we're taking bites. Like, that's not a thing I do.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to guard this.
Every man for
I am
himself.
like a hungry lion.
Yeah.
Right. But I started to hang out with my wife and her sister and her mom. And like, everybody's eating off each other's plates, and I realized, oh wait, this isn't my meal.
Yes.
Like, I literally started ordering 2 meals because I would start checking. I'm like, babe, I talked to like her friends and her sister.
The amount of fights we had while dating when I would order the meal, and I'm like, hey, yo, what do you want? And she orders what she wants, and I get what I want, but then she eats what I'm like, well, if you would have told me, I would have ordered that for you. She's like, no, but I saw it on your plate, it looked good. I was like, well, I'll order you a different one, but this is mine. Like, I'm really hungry. I don't know if you know this. I want to eat my food.
Oh my God, man. Bro. It is so relatable. But back to the church part, I feel like even there's this microcosm. I think I've even told this story on radio before, but this was my childhood, right?
Yeah.
So my parents planted a church in San Diego in 1999, and I loved the church. Was a church rat in like the best way. When I would have friends come and spend the night on the weekends, they kind of knew, like, if I go to Wendell Jake's house for the weekend, I'm probably gonna have to go to a prayer meeting sometimes. And I remember, like, grew up in a Pentecostal charismatic. It still would be, but much more intense in the late 90s and early 2000s, where like people shouting in tongues at the prayer meeting, especially in a prayer meeting.
Sure. And
I remember one time I had a friend come to spend the night on a Saturday night. And there was no way around it because my parents are both pastors, so we're going to be at the prayer meeting.
For sure.
And I remember this first time, like, he grew up in a more, I wouldn't even know the stream, like, Reformed, Calvary Chapel, great community, but not as many people who would really be practicing speaking in tongues.
I understand.
And it was late on Saturday, and people are praying, which is somewhat normal. Then they start praying like kind of crazy, like super passionate, which is
calling heaven down.
Beautiful, also a little bit unnecessary at moments, but you know, that's up to God to determine between the heart of the believer, right?
Right.
But people start like shouting in tongues, and I can't even make the face my friend made at me. I can't even make it, dog. Like, bro, the look he gave me, like, bro do you got some like aliens in here? Like, is that an actual language? Because they're all sounding different.
Yeah,
and
bro.
I don't even know what I said.
You said apologize. You'd be like, hey, you know what? My bad, bro. I'm sorry. Next time I'll warn you. I didn't know it was gonna be. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, man. No,
like, I bring him up to the front, like he don't know it.
He don't know.
Somebody pray for him. Like, make him get filled.
Yeah, man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I don't know whether it's some of it I'm sure is cultural or location or whatever. But I remember again coming from a Southern background and my church's family and whatnot. But I remember coming to San Diego, and it's different out here. And I remember, so we would find our church, kind of our church streams, but you make friends, you invite them out to youth group, and it's like, this isn't, my church norm wasn't the church norm, I think, for the area. And so I always felt like, there was a season of my life where I felt really embarrassed as a kid. Not even from like embarrassed about Jesus, but I was like, man, this is all I know. Like, this is our church background, and maybe it's just not the SoCal vibe or, whatever, but, yeah, like this is very normal for me. Like, yeah, we do go to churches in suits, like, and there's not an option for it. Like it's funny how like culturally things really play out. Like, again, I joke. I just be honest. Like, black church, white church, a lot different. But like, I remember stepping my first time stepping into what I would call a white church. I was like, bro, y'all got video games here? Like, do y'all love Jesus? This is crazy, dog. Like, what is happening? And like it was just I didn't know that was even a thing you could do at church, was have a video game system in church. You know what I mean? And so like you just have different cultural experiences, and to invite people into it and be able to be vulnerable, like that can be tough, especially as a kid, because you don't really know any better, right? You just want to be accepted and want to be liked. And but yeah, I can remember some experiences with friends where I was like, yeah, this might be weird for you. But it's even more weird for me because I'm trying to I'm trying to make it cool, but it just is what it is. And it's funny because now I'm older, I actually really, I feel like I appreciate that so much more than I did as a kid.
Appreciate what? Just
appreciate like, the experiences that made me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I look back on, my parents and them being so faithful in the church and keeping us, my brother and I, involved in church and keeping us rooted and grounded. And like, again, now having experiences where it's memes or just other people that you meet around and like, yeah, this is the church background that I grew up in that's maybe unique and different to others, but like, I actually really appreciate that now. And so, even getting married and, having kids, like you start to talk about what made you, like why I think about church services the way I do, why I think about prayer and faith and just everything else from a church context. Like it's made me different from the people that are around me, but I've actually come to love that. When as a kid, I didn't really love that. And so it's, it's funny. I don't know if that's just perspective or what, but
I think part of it is perspective and age. Like the references leave my mind every time I bring them up, but I was doing a study. I actually think we might've talked about this, maybe not a couple weeks ago. I don't think we did, but I thought we did. The scripture where it says, confess your sins one to another that you may be healed. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ways you can kind of dig into it, but if you look into the Greek, it's not necessarily just like, some deep, dark secret.
For sure.
Like the worst thing, but it's also just error, like error in thinking or error in processing. It also like, you could potentially, and I don't want to go too far, this theologian's smarter than both of us.
Sure.
But I would submit to you as another follower of Jesus, I think you can almost just say like, anytime you have like an errant thought or like frustrating thought or difficulty, go and bring it to, and it says an elder, but really what that means is a seasoned believer,
right?
Like a seasoned follower of Jesus, someone who not just meaning like they have a depth, like they read so much, but literally like there's been decades long or like multi-year long processes. Yeah. And if you do that, if you come and bring these thoughts that are errant or frustrating or difficult or sin to them, to this seasoned believer, if they pray for you, healing comes. Yeah. And what's crazy is what you're talking about. I think a lot of guys in a position like yours, or I'll just speak for myself, you grow up in church in whatever environment that might be. Yeah. It's really easy to get bitter and frustrated at it. But when you just talk about it openly like this, a sweetness comes. Yeah. And I think like a maturity comes, like we're now, 1991.
Come on, baby.
34 this
Till
year.
infinity,
like,
baby.
We're mature enough and have followed Jesus, and Jesus has brought us along far enough to look back on those days with a sweetness.
Mighty long way.
That even like 5-6 years ago, I wouldn't have been as sweet
For
about.
sure.
I would have been more like, oh man, I don't like this, I didn't like that. But I'm grateful for the awkwardness. I'm grateful for the beauty.
Yeah.
And do you ever listen to the Mav City album they dropped with Elevation, like towards the beginning?
Yeah.
With Old Church Basement and Talking to Jesus?
Come on, dude. That song speaks to my soul, dude.
Both
I'm like, I've been there, bro.
Yes.
I've been in that church. I can picture it. Like, that is a word. That's a visual picture for me, because I'm like, and again, like, I think, again, that it's so funny. Like, I think that speaks to what we're talking about is like, when someone can champion and just, speak up about their experiences and whatever it is, the context they're in, it allows the people who've been through it, who've gone through it, to go, yeah, like, this is something to be proud of. This is something, like, there is a uniqueness to it, but there's a sweetness about it. There's something that like, there's power in, like, what God was doing in those type of environments.
How do you feel like Jesus did that for you? Because from the moment we first started hanging and talking, I felt like a security in Jesus and in church that I think is not always easy for guys who've lived a life for you just growing up in church.
It's a good question. I would say, it's a really good question. I think my initial kind of gut response to that would be, it's the fruit and faithfulness of the seeds that have been planted that I'm just reaping the benefit of. Like, my parents served faithfully, kept us in church, spoke the word, prayed the word, read the word to us constantly. And so there's a level of, and I had a season in my life where rebellious, bitterness for sure, but the seeds that were deep in the soil, even though they might not have been manifesting in that season, they were still there. And so, like, I think there's a natural, not to hyper spiritualize it, but I think there's a natural kind of prodigal spirit to a lot of guys who have that, maybe that background of their family really and keeping them in the church, keeping them grounded. Is even when you have a season where you maybe you're stressed, you're bitter, you're frustrated, something's going on in your life, and there's a little bit of like sway in your life, you're planted on the rock. And so, like, I think that, like, for me, I think the fruit of my life has been the faithfulness of the people before me. And there's not anything that I would say that I've done. I think that my parents had a big part of that. I think being under right leadership, like Pastor Jeff Moore's in my life, Pastor Chris Brown, Larry Osborne. There's a lot of people that I could point to that have been pastors in my life that, it's like, it's the training ground, right? Like, it's the preparing of, it's the equipping of, so that when life happens, because life happens for everyone, what you fall back on isn't emotion, or it's not even necessarily experience. It's you're falling back on faithfulness and you're falling back on good soil. And so, like, that's why I think for me, like, as a parent now, man, it's so crucial for me as a dad to impart on my boys, from character standpoint, biblical standpoint, spiritual, mental. Like, I want my boys to know that, like, man, you've been prayed for, prayed over, like, scripture, like you've been covered. And so I don't know what that looks like. Can it, like, I don't know what's going to happen in your life. I don't have a time machine, but I know that being covered in prayer, being covered in scripture, being prayed over, like, I just know that is, I think, kind of the best tools that you can equip someone for whatever may come.
Bro, I love it. And I feel like it relates. There's two things that really stuck out, and I think we have a similar through line to that. Like, raising sons, I feel like is so important.
Yeah.
And my goal is to shape and sharpen my sons so that when they are my age, they don't have to go through the same pain. And I think, to your point too, it's like, Jesus' parable of what you build your life on is so beautiful.
Right.
And I remember hearing that at, like, kids camps and things growing up. And
Sure.
I always thought, the concept of building the foundation, I always thought was more Christian practice, which is a beautiful endeavor that we should have.
Totally.
But I think flows from knowing the Spirit of Jesus for yourself. But I always kind of thought, okay, if I'm going to build my life on Jesus, it's going to mean I'm going to be involved in church. Maybe I'll be in ministry. I'm going to tithe. I'm going to read scripture.
Right.
I'm going to make right decisions. I'm not going to drink and smoke.
Right.
I'm not going to sleep around. And all those things are great,
Sure.
right? But now that I've aged, I'm realizing, actually, those things are great, but I want to instill in my sons and in my daughter, but specifically talking about shaping a son.
Right.
I want them to know the foundation is this guy, Jesus, because at the end of the day, everything will hit the fan.
That's right.
Multiple times over.
That's right.
It's just going to happen. It doesn't matter what you do. And if your foundation is right living, if your foundation is goodness, and those should be a part of my life.
Right.
Just talking about with my buddy Joshua Bowers on earlier podcast, kind of that tension, right? Of saying, okay, I have agency over what I do every day.
Right.
And I need to work hard
Right.
at what's in front of me and give myself fully to
Right.
what God has given me as a father, as a
Right.
husband, as a leader, in ministry, whatever that might look like. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, also, like, it's not really up to me. And there's this interesting dynamic exchange that I can't control. But man, for my kids, there's this through line of what you're talking about. And it's both. It's okay, there's a legacy that I stand on.
Right.
The man that I am is based on the decisions that my parents made. And
Yes.
not everyone has what we have.
For
with
sure.
like what Brandon Lake says in that song. He's
Right.
like, I went to church on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights. No matter what happened, I was there.
Right.
And you're going to be thankful someday. I love the song, like that
Yeah.
you have God in your life. And dude, I look back, I'm getting chills right now. Like, oh my God.
Yes.
I'm so grateful for all the crazy, wild moments, more prayer meetings than I could count. Like, I've been to more church services than most kids go to movie theaters and malls.
100%.
And it used to be kind of annoying, but I also kind of loved it. And I'm grateful. So I'm definitely standing on a platform, like spiritually based on what my parents built. But on the other side of it, it's all for nothing if it's not just Jesus, which is this interesting, beautiful tension that I want to be able to hand to my kids. Like, dude, you're going to get prayed over. Let's talk about Jesus. Let's talk about scripture. Let's make it relatable. But at the end of the day, it's all kind of just on him.
And I think especially for boys, and again, I can't speak to girls. I didn't grow up around a lot of girls, but
do you have siblings?
I have an older brother and a younger brother.
Okay.
And so, but I think for boys especially, they mimic that's why, again, this whole conversation we have about father wounds and everything else, but they mimic what the people that they respect and look up to, they mimic what they see. And so much of, again, how you fight your battles spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever, you're going to mimic what generally meant what other men around you, you saw the men around you growing up, what they did and how they, addressed those battles and issues and the ups and the downs, right? And so, again, you don't know when life's going to happen and when things are going to go crazy or whatever that might take you. But again, seeing that from my dad and my mom, like that was implanted in me of like, this is the standard. My dad was, again, military too. So there were just so many like different things that, it's funny you think about, there's so many men who grow up with like, you're like, either you want to be just like your dad or you're like, I don't want to be like my dad, right? You do something different. But like, it's funny, you kind of look at things generally over a time period and most men end up being very much like their father. Even if they're trying so hard to run away from it, there's usually some type of like wound or some type of like thing, whether it's an anger issue or whatever case might be, where it's like they pattern that behavior after their father or the men in their house or whoever it was that was like that male figure in their life. And so it's I don't want to say it's inescapable, but it is there's such a gravity to that for young boys and for men as they grow older. And it's so interesting. And so I take that from my parents and go, I think that's one of the most important things I can give my kids, my right now, my two boys. That is, hey, I can give you opportunity, I give you money and access or, whatever, 401k, but like what I want you to I want to be imparted onto you more so than anything for me is an example of how your dad loved his wife, loved the people around him, showed up at his church and his community, showed up around people, how to interact, and what character looks like. Like you can tell your boys this is this is how you act, whatever. But what they're gonna remember is when you got mad, how'd you respond? You can tell your boys about being responsible with their finances, but they're gonna notice like, man, every month we was running late and behind on our bills, and dad was buying whatever you want. Like they remember that. Like I remember so much about my father now as I'm older that, and like, I'm like having to reconcile and go, oh, this is, you know what I mean? Like, it's just funny. Even like, again, when you brought up that story, I was like, I haven't thought about my dad and that whole experience about us doing the radio show in years, but like that, it's like shaped me. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even realize how much some of that stuff shapes you as an adult. And so it's imprinted a lot of times in your DNA and how you act. And so, it's more caught than taught. I mean, we say that in church a lot, but it is true. Like, it is very true. So yeah, man.
I feel like a dad, this just popped up in my mind as you said, I think that shaping thing, it happens so much more covertly than overtly. Like, for all the times, and I know you know this, even for how young our boys are, that we need to correct them in real time or try to train them in real time. Yeah. That never catches as well as seeing them do something and you realize it's because repetition and the way that you do things. Like, it's wild how much that happens. Yeah. And on the other side, I feel like the job is to shield. It's like a shape and a shield. Like, now looking back, you talking about, you know, if your dad was going through hard times or not, I didn't know it ever, but my parents had such a crazy financial season of planting a church. There's so much uncertainty. Right. And I always viewed it as bliss. But now looking back, my dad will tell me stories and he's like telling me the years. I'm like, I had no idea. I had the best life ever. Right. But my dad is like, does not know how he's going to make it work. Totally. Yeah. Which is so relatable for me over the last 5 years of starting a business. Like, I hope to God that my kids look back with a similar lens. Right. Like, I hope that they felt shielded. Like, dude, dad was about it. Like, dad was successful in business. And then I can tell them about how painful it was. It's the arrow. You're putting an arrow in their quiver. Like, you're giving them a blueprint for how they can respond and act to whatever it is down the line. And so that the arrow that they're going to pull and reach for is like, well, how did I see this modeled for me? And again, you can do it through words for sure and teachings, but the thing that will be imprinted on them is like, well, the way you live your life. Them do this, right? Like, when things go on in my life and prayer is such an initial reaction, it's because that was my parents prayed about, and sometimes I'm like, bruh, I feel like there's another solution here, but it was like, no, we're gonna pray about this. Yeah, you know what I mean? And like, that's just ingrained. Like, it's not something I can even take credit for. It's just like, man, I saw my parents pray about everything, and I saw God come through in crazy ways as a child. I've seen checks just show up at the door, and we're like, that's the exact amount we needed within like the next 24 hours, right? Like, those are just things where I've just seen. And it wasn't even this like great lesson that I could articulate, but it was just like, yeah, this is just, this is what we do. This is what we did. And so, I mean, I think like in a simplistic form, like that's legacy, right? And it's like, it's, again, it's more caught than taught. Really, truly. It's beautiful. Are your boys playing sports at all? So my oldest is really, he's been bugging us a lot. He really wants to get into basketball and baseball. He wants to get into everything. Every sport, every night there's something on. He wants to watch and play something. Are you a Laker fan, by the way? I'm a diehard Laker fan. Okay. Yeah, 100%. I actually was at the game last night. Yeah, that's why I asked, because I saw you post you were in the 8 jersey by the statue. Man. And I remember I had thought you were, but I didn't want to. Yeah. I love the basketball is my thing. And I'll wear a lot of different like Legos, but listen, it's Lakers ride or die. I've been a Lakers fan since late 90s. Same. I don't root for anybody else but the Lakers. But I do love the NBA. Yeah, I'm a huge fan now of players. Yeah. Like cheer on players. For sure. But like as a 100%. Franchise, the Lakers are everything to me. Yeah. And for me, it's the same because we probably, for the same reasons, I had moved to San Diego. You got here a little bit sooner than I did. Yeah, I moved here in like 98, 99. Oh, same? Yeah. Bro, that's crazy. No way, really? Yeah. Bro. So we were 6, 7. I was 7. Okay. Yeah. We got here in like, it was at the very end of 98, right? And like basically like when we moved here, when we got out of our house, it was 99. So I was like 7. Yeah. So I think I moved here at the beginning of 98. Okay. So right before I turned 7. Yeah. But anyway, bro, I love that. Yeah. We literally born the same year too. That's dope, bro. Come on, dude. I told you kindred spirits, bro. I know, dog. 100%. But I remember the reason I became a Laker fan, we moved here and I obviously had been in Seattle before, but was a little too young to fully have a team. Yes. And my dad would have been more loyal to the Blazers than he would have been to the into Sonics, and so I had a lot of family members that were Sonic fans, like cousins, uncles, and everything, and then some that were Blazers fans. And I was a little bit too young, but I just liked players. So I was like, whatever. And when we moved to LA, and my brothers tell me about Kobe. Like, dude, this kid came out of high school. People were saying he's the next MJ, and I'm like, what? Because I remember everything in the 90s is MJ.
100%.
Like I watched Space Jam every day. I'm like, MJ is not only the greatest basketball player, he's just the greatest human I've ever lived.
Exactly.
Like that's what my frame of mind is. Like, as many Jordans as I can have, and as many Jordan jerseys and paraphernalia and videos I can watch, I'm great.
That's exactly.
They told me this Kobe, and he's like young, and I'm young, and like nobody. He airballs, and but look at the way he works. So I went off, bro. Ever since then, like, dude, when I was living in LA, and when Kobe died, I'm like weeping. Bro. I'm a mess,
bro.
And my son Ev was however old he would have been, like, was old enough to see like what is wrong with my dad. Dude, I was an absolute mess. So the Lakers are everything. And by the way, the fact that we stole Luka from the Dallas Mavericks is probably collusion, but I'm here for it.
One of my best friends is a diehard Mavs fan. And
Rest in peace.
It's been rough, bro. This last month, I'm like, hey, every time I see him, I'm like, hey, man, I'm sorry, bro. It's got to be hard being friends with me, but like, it's what it is, you know? But
bro, how about,
man.
So you were literally at that game last night?
Yeah.
Dude, Luka and Austin?
And bro, they're nice, bro. They nice.
Bro, how about Austin in his bag? No, I didn't even know he could handle.
I was just telling like, listen, we've liked Austin because he's a nice story, but I was like, he's kind of getting to be a problem right now. Like he's not just a nice story anymore. I'm like, yeah, bro, he'll cook you if you're not paying attention.
He kind of can do everything actually, and his defense actually, he's not a liability. It's kind of crazy.
He's if we could put it all together, man, I'm not going.
And Rui coming back,
but listen, I wouldn't want to play us. That's all I'm gonna say. I wouldn't want to play us. Yeah,
I was telling I think I told you about this too, but last year, because my oldest has become like a very deep fan of all the teams I love, which is awesome. And my 5-year-old is too.
Hey, I just want you to know that's a blessing, bro. Because my oldest is a deep fan of every team every other team so this is for real. My oldest, whenever the Lakers are on, he's like, Dad, who are they playing? I'll tell him. He's like, oh, so if it's like, yo, Denver Nuggets, he's like, let's go Denver Nuggets. I'm like,
bro, you know he's just doing that because he wants your attention. Because that's what my middle son has done for a long time.
Bro, and I don't even get on him no more, but I'm like, bro, that's so hurtful. I just told him, I said, hey, man, when the Celtics play and the Clippers play, I just can't. You want to say Lakers on those nights. But the rest of the nights, you can root forever. My oldest is a diehard Steph Curry fan. Steph Curry, which I'm cool with. I like Steph. I like Steph.
Yeah, because he went off when we were in high school, which is, did you do a March Madness bracket this year?
I did, and it's already, it's not going to work.
Who's your Final Four?
You know what's funny? I don't even remember. It was a guess. Yeah. This year, and I would say last year too, probably the years I paid the least amount of attention to college ball. I used to be much more into it. I'm a local guy, so I love SDSU, and I love UNC. So those are my teams that I'm like.
You're an SDSU fan too?
I mean, so I'm a local guy. So like, here's the thing, bro. The Aztecs are the Aztecs.
Bro, there's not that many of us. So no way.
I for sure.
What a devastating loss.
I for sure had them in the Final Four, and it was like I didn't care about whoever else.
So. Man, I'm a humongous SDSU fan.
Really?
Like, did you watch the Brandon Heath era?
Yes, I loved Brandon Heath.
Bro.
And, so I'm also a huge. So crazy. I played against Kawhi Leonard in high school.
In Riverside?
Yeah.
How?
Well, I mean, so I played at Vista High, which is up here in North Carolina, San Diego, and we had a tournament game, or it was a tournament. And I remember because at that time, I mean, I didn't really know, but I was like, man, this guy, Kawhi Leonard's really good. He's rated blah, blah, blah in the state. And he just signed to go to SDSU. And we were like, all right, man. Like, and we had a good team my senior year, a real good team our senior year. And we were like, all right, we're gonna show this SDSU guy.
Did you have anyone with size that could?
Yeah, we had a guy on our team. His name was Quincy Lawson. He was about 6'6".
Okay, yeah.
He's a track guy. He's a little slim, but he could, he could shoot, run.
And he had the frame. 6'6",
yeah, and so, through like the first 3 quarters, it's a close game. We're like, yeah, man, this guy is nothing special, dude. 4th quarter, it just cooked
full
us.
Jordan.
It was like, are we playing the same sport? Like, what is happening?
Did he do his mid-range thing that he does?
Bro, no, he was just yamming on dudes. I mean, he was at that time, again, we're high school, so he was just bigger and stronger and just, and so, but it was funny because in my head, it was just Kawhi. It was just this guy, and then later on, I'm like, drafted by the Spurs. I was like, why did I play against this guy, And so
I love Kawhi so much.
But yeah,
bro, I'm a huge Aztecs fan.
Really? Okay, I love that,
watched
dude.
I had to stop watching towards the end of the game.
Okay.
The game against UNC.
Yeah.
But my boys are
which
big,
was
like,
hard for me.
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
last
man.
year during the regular season, man, Jaden Ledee. I wish he could be here this year. But anyway, did you watch much of last season?
No. So I would say again, the last 2 years, the last year that I really watched was it 2020? The year where they went to the Final Four was the year I was following all year long.
Thank you, Butler, for the shot.
And so after that year, I kind of faded that next year a little bit. Was still keeping highlights and stuff. Just over the last 2 years, I haven't really been as playing. I'll just check highlights and stuff like that. But I would say I don't even know most of the guys on the team. I'll hear about a couple transfers. I'm like, okay, let's see how they're gonna do. But
I think next year Magoon Gwath will be the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year.
Okay.
He's a freshman.
He's a freshman one, yeah.
Yeah, got Defensive Player of the Year.
Where's he from?
I think he's actually African.
Okay.
I believe. I'm not certain.
Okay. Did he get a lot of run this year?
Yeah, he got injured, and then that's where we started to nosedive a little bit. And the game we just lost to UNC was his first game back. He still played pretty well. And then Miles Bird coming back from injury, and then Reese Waters. I mean, I could go for days.
It's hard because especially now and I think part of this is
NIL hurts San Diego State.
This is my thing is like I feel like this kind of coincides with my like following is like you get attached to guys and then you're like, are you like I just hope you stay, you know what I mean, or hope that you stick around and so. It'll be interesting to see, man. I do. I love. We went to. I've been to a few games. Yeah,
this coming season.
Last time I went was about year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. My mother-in-law is a graduate from SDSU,
Sick.
And so
Viejas is a fun spot. Let's go this next season. We'll plan it. We'll do a radio episode and we'll go. And Matt, let's record.
Easy.
That'll be the after the pod. But I took my kids and my wife to a game. They came and played at GCU, which is very close to where I live.
Okay, cool.
Which was so fun. And bro, the GCU students are crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like a super loud San Diego State fan, that's just who I am. Like you can't.
What's
help
their
it,
little section called at GCU?
The Havocs.
The Havocs. Okay.
Bro, and people were like dead eyeing me, and I could not care. The only reason I slowed it down is because like my oldest and my wife, although they would be cheering for San Diego State, were a little bit embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because I'm not antagonistic.
Sure.
But
you're in both.
I'm at least like a knowledgeable basketball fan. So I'm like making comments and cheering loud, and it's still pretty sick, but it's a small enough arena where like my voice, we're like 3 rows up from the baseline, was like kind of carrying weight, but it was so fun. But the only bummer was we lost.
Yeah.
Because GCU has a good program. But
anyway, that's so awesome.
Good.
Yeah, man. Did you play basketball?
I did. I did. My best sport was football for sure.
Okay.
But I played basketball my whole life.
Okay.
Yeah, I was probably more like
still
a 6th,
active?
7th.
You still play
man.
now?
No. So when I was living in LA, I was still playing a ton. There was a really great, just like everywhere, you know, in Southern California, like so many good places just go run.
Yeah.
And I was playing with a bunch of dudes that would be like a couple guys said they played in the G League. You know, look like it to me. I mean, by comparison, like I'm like 6th, 7th man on a varsity team at a small Christian school versus these guys.
Right.
I can kind of make a corner 3, play solid defense.
Yeah.
But a couple guys definitely played college. A couple guys played overseas. And like a pretty good group of dudes. A couple guys that were like 6'8", 6'10".
Yeah.
It's just like good runs.
Sure.
And I kept coming home with like a hobbled knee or like an ankle just because I'd play so much. And my wife basically was like, babe, like
you gotta be done.
You should probably just be done. Like that you can hang up the Kobe's you've been wearing for 10 years.
That's a rough time, dude. Yeah. Bro.
So that happened around like 29, 30.
Okay.
I would still play, but I haven't played like an actual like sprint 5-on-5 game probably since then.
Yeah, man.
Do you still hoop?
Yeah, I still try and get out at least once a week. And I mean, right now it's a lot of kind of church guys, local guys.
For sure.
Guys that some guys that can play. I used to run with some pretty talented guys down there, but some local colleges or whatever. But yeah, now it's more of like I need cardio.
Exactly. And it's the cheapest cardio in the world.
And this is like a way for me to turn off my brain for the 2 hours. And that's like really beneficial for me after a week of work.
Bro, that's what I miss about basketball.
Yeah.
I was just talking, I think Corb, he's not over here right now, but we were talking about it. I've tried to get into golf and I like it.
Yeah.
And I've tried to get into pickleball and it's fun.
Sure.
But nothing has ever done for me what basketball did for my brain, just going to play.
Yeah.
It's like amazing energy, like so fun with homies.
Yeah.
And you forget everything else because you got to stay laser focused.
Yeah. And you're locked in on just like, trying to win or making a shot, whatever. But yeah, man. Yeah, I try and get out now. Like I said, it's my back hurts more now, and they're playing. We got some younger guys playing, and they'll like be doing. They're like, man, George, you run a real slow offense, and I'm like, I don't feel like this is slow, but yeah, you dig running up and down the court, and I'm like, all right, and just pick and roll. All right, we'll do a pick and roll. I got you. You can't guard this, all right?
Bro, you remember because I grew up playing soccer as well.
Yeah.
So like going and playing like soccer, football, basketball,
My
frisbee,
goal as a child was to play every sport one season.
I love it.
That was my goal, and I got.
Did you play soccer?
I played soccer, played tennis, football, basketball, baseball. I did track.
In high school, you did all of those?
Not in high school. In high school, I played football. I played football for 2 years, played basketball all 4, and then I was kind of I was on the track team for about a month and was like, I hate this, and was like, I'm out of here.
Bro, track practice is one of the most painful things of all time. We just did an episode with my buddy.
It's not it, bro.
Aiden King from Young and Free.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know, but he was a great track athlete in high school.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it. Dude, I did like football 2-a-days, crazy. Like we had a really good basketball program at both different high schools I went to. And
is this
soccer's
in Vegas?
a lot of sprinting. No, it's here in San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah. But
what high school did you go to?
Maranatha Christian.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, dude. Yeah.
It's a great school.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, dude, there's nothing like track practice.
Yeah,
it's not created for anything.
And it's boring to me.
Well, just like
basketball, that's what I love about like running for basketball is like there's a objective and there's, it's like a very active, like trying to win or lose, where, it's track so much as you're trying to beat your personal best. And I mean, like if you're doing like the 400, you're racing people, but I'm like, nah, man, I need to like feel like there's a tension of I'm going to win or lose. And that to me, like keeps me engaged in a different way. So yeah,
bro, I made the mistake.
I did it for a month, and I was like, guys, I'm going back to the football team. I can't do this.
My senior year, I don't know why I had this idiotic idea, but I got off really early, and then I'd come back for school.
Yeah,
I mean for practice because I played 4 sports my senior year, and it was because that's what you can do at a small school, right? But track is the last sport of the season here in SoCal, right?
Yep.
And so, or the last sport of the school year. And so, like, all the other sports were more important to me, but track is still fun. And I was pretty good in our section. Like, I would win most of my races because it's pretty fast. But I had decided to go to Panera Bread, and I had broccoli cheddar soup. And I forgot it was I forgot what our coach called it, but it's not like a sprint day, but it's like the run day.
Yeah.
Where you do 2 400s, 3 300s, 1 200,
Your body
and then
was
like
talking.
3 100s,
It was
bro.
talking to you.
And I'm not joking you, bro. I have never, to this day, it's the most significant discomfort my whole body.
Scarred your life, bro.
Intense headache, and like it felt like my body was seizing at the end. And I'm like the kind of guy where no matter what, I won't give up. Like I'll push myself to the end. And I couldn't finish the last 100. I laid on the ground and just like was in a pool of my own vomit. Just like so embarrassed. And I couldn't like describe to my coach because I couldn't clearly communicate that the broccoli cheddar soup was the problem. He just thought I was gassed. And he's like, oh, buddy. Yeah. Because he had like run college track. Just like the proverbial pat on the head. I just felt so sunned.
Right, yeah.
The worst.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
Good days, bro.
But I was going to say, it's funny. Now being the 34-year-old guy, you remember growing up and playing sports with all the guys in church stuff, like church leagues, whatever. Yeah. And I always like, dude, I'm not gonna be like that. They're always like one game. I'm like, come on, one game more. They're like, no, bro. Like I'm done. Like 100%. Back my knee. But now I'm that guy. Like, bro, I'm coaching my boys in club soccer. Yeah. And I have this lingering kind of like lower back spondy issue I need to get fixed, and God's gonna fix it, chiropractor, whatever. Yeah. But literally the other day, like I can't really play proper keeper at the end. We have like our main keeper's hand is hurt, and we have our secondary keeper who's good, and I'm playing keeper on the other side for scrimmages at the end, and I can't really block because of my back. I'm like, dude. And the kids who are on my team are like, Coach, why aren't you blocking that? I'm not really willing to admit. I'm trying to act like I'm just not trying. But really, I'm like, I'm in pain. I couldn't reach it.
It's real, bro. It's like. I want to sit here and pretend that like age ain't a thing, but it's real, bro.
Bro, undefeated 100%. Besides LeBron.
Except LeBron, which, we're going to. I don't know what he's on, but he's on some voodoo. He's on
I'm for it. Keep taking whatever it is, bro. Go to Germany, go to Florida, get whatever you need. I'm here for it.
That's right.
I do want to circle back though. I know you mentioned. At 20, it's when you start to work in creative. Yeah. Now your core discipline would still be, and I'd love to hear a little bit more broad, but your core discipline would still be filmmaking, like shooting and filmmaking. Give me a little bit more of like what gets you going as you get into creative processes. And as a creative director at your church, give me a little bit of a picture into what your kind of rhythm of work would be like.
Sure. Yeah. So, I've been doing vocational ministry. I've been on staff at a church now for the last, almost 14 years. So That's been cool, and most of that's been in the film video space. Even at the church before so I was at a church called North Coast Church. I was over the film team there. Then Rhythm Church planted in 2020, and so I left to be the creative pastor there, overseeing creative, film, design, photography, our worship production, all that kind of stuff. And so like that's been cool because like that role is much more. I wouldn't say administrative, it's not the word, but it's much more deploying people to do what they're supposed to do and kind of like creative problem solving, which is okay, and I like doing that. But my love that I get up for is like telling stories through film. I've got kind of a weird. It's so many different things going on in my life at one point in time. But there was a season where I was doing freelance work. I was working for a church. I was working for a very large podcaster, making insane little short films on a pretty consistent basis. We're making commercials for Lego and Best Buy and all this type of stuff. And so like I've always was kind of like divested in like a lot of different things. But the thing that like really like. Man, the thing that I was just most passionate about was telling a story through film, beginning, middle, and end, creating characters, creating worlds or narratives that people could relate to, people could see themselves in, people could wrestle with, characters that people loved, characters that people hated, characters that like illuminated a different perspective for people, and so yeah, that has been something that I have been investing probably most of my. I don't know how to say this, but most of my creative energy over the last 4 years has been there. I'm still, I'm full-time, very invested in my church. I oversee 7 staff now, gaggle of volunteers. And I love deploying people into what they do. But on the side, I'm shooting commercials for Vans. I got a documentary.
Wait, for Vans, the skate and shoe
last
company?
month I did like a Black History Month commercial for Vans.
No way, are you serious?
Tomorrow I'm shooting a music video or a documentary for a pretty big Christian artist. So there's stuff like that, or not a music video, documentary, so stuff like that. So stuff like that I like, that's where I'm building out rigs, I'm on commercial sets, I'm buddies are sending me scripts, I'm peer reviewing scripts, like that stuff I really enjoy doing. The church thing for me is something that, I've been doing for the last 14 years. It's probably something that winds down in the next kind of chapter of my life. But I have a deep love for people who started in the church. There's a group there that I feel like I am called to just build connection with, because there's a lot of hurt in that space from people who were vocationally involved in a creative space at church. And I feel like I'll always be invested in that group. But yeah, man, like if the next 30, 40 years of my life, if all I do is write, not so much write, but direct and DP films, I'm as happy as a clam, bro. Like that's what I love to do. Yeah.
So your preference in the future would be to work like on film sets for feature films?
Yeah. Feature films, short films. I still love. Right now, I'm really into short films. Features are gnarly. Features are
crazy.
But I would love to eventually down the line. But I'm still working my way up to features. Right now, I've done a handful of shorts. We'll have to do a few more.
Do you film, edit, and direct yourself, or do you work with a group or like some?
It just kind of depends. A lot of my larger stuff now, I'm not doing a whole lot of editing. Larger films, I'll come in and do the last 10% of the edit, but just again, how much I'm involved, the kids, everything else, like it, I then become the roadblock, and so right now, most of the stuff I'm doing is I'm either directing, I'm director DPing. Or I'm just DPing. So that's majority of stuff I'm doing.
When you're DPing, what would that look like for you?
So like, again, it kind of depends on the scale of the project, but I'm over how the project looks. So everything from talking to
every camera.
Yeah, the cameras, I'm talking to lighting, the camera department, like those are people that I'm in, as a DP, you're in charge of creating the look of the project. And so again, from the lighting, kind of the mood of what we're looking for, you're working with a director and trying to build out the look.
Would you and the director, obviously the director would still technically be in charge, but it'd be very much like a collaboration in that way, right?
If it's a good team.
If it's a good director.
Yeah, good team, yeah.
Depends on the human.
So yeah, you're working with the director. You're not making calls without input. But,
ideally there's a trust and a freedom.
Yeah, hopefully, like, and there's a couple of directors that I get to work with that, man, we've done quite a few projects together. And so we have a look, or we just have a synergy that like we feel pretty good about. And so, but sometimes you come into a project and you don't know the director at all. And so as a DP, it's like, hey, I'm here to support your vision. I'm here to support what you're trying to do. I'll give feedback and give suggestions. But ultimately, the director is the person who's on the hook. And so you can create something you love. And if the director is like, that's not what the client and I, or whatever, that's not what we were intending to do, and they hate it, man, that's nothing worse. And you don't ever get callbacks from that. So sometimes you're like, okay, that's not what I would do, but how do I help support what you're trying to do? And so,
it's that's like the lesson in every working relationship.
Yeah, man. It's like learning to serve, right? It's like the best leaders are really good servants. They're really good servants because they know how to I've been blessed again. I've been in ministry a long time, and now I'm in quote unquote leadership roles. But I know what it was like to be the service guy. I know it was like to have someone change the whole project the night before. And you're like, bro, I gotta be up till 2 a.m. now making that call. I know what the like decisions you make as a leader, how that impacts everyone down the line. And so I also, as a leader, then want to serve the people below me. I like, sometimes we gotta do what we gotta do, but sometimes it's like, okay, man, this decision and how it impacts people, like thinking through that. And so, but you only learn that from from serving and right. Like being underneath leadership for a long period of time. And so, like from a filmmaking perspective, all of the roles that are there on a set, for the most part, they're all answering up. And so, the creative world, it can be all about like, you and your portfolio and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, hey, ultimately what we're here to do is try and create something that's, it achieves an agenda that someone else probably set. And if you're in it for your own personal gains, most times out of not, it won't work out and people don't enjoy working with you. And so, even as a DP, as the head of that department, I'm still answering to at least the director, if not the director and the producer, and then the director and the producer, and then the client, and then the agency. And it's like, oh, okay, like, and so that's why, again, right now, I love kind of putting together my own stuff. I'm not a writer, but I've been writing a lot more, some short scripts. And so I'll start a script, and I'll have some writer buddies, or some buddies will send stuff to me, and I'll do some additional writing. But when you get to then when you're now moving up into that spot where now you're, kind of setting the direction for everyone else below you, like that's fun because you have full control. But then again, all the weight's on you, and you're thinking about all that different stuff. So it's cool though. I've had the chance to write now 3 short films. Two of them that did very, very well.
What were they?
So one was a film called Black Joy is Magic, and we wrote it in 2020. So I used to work for a really large YouTuber called Belief in Fatherhood. He was actually a Christian rapper, and then went into
what was his artist name when he?
Belief. Belief, yeah, Beleaf. He's a Christian rapper here in San Diego, part of the group called Dream Junkies. Okay, so do you know Ruslan?
Yeah.
Ruslan?
Yeah. So I don't know him personally. But
okay, so Ruslan and Belief were like in a group together.
Okay. And
all here in San Diego. And then he started doing their own solo stuff. But Belief was a Christian rapper, had some cool success there, but then started doing a YouTube where his wife went to work, and he was a stay-at-home dad for two boys at the time, and just went mega viral. So I came into that in 2019, 2020. And and it was just a wild season. And so obviously all the stuff that happened with COVID, some stuff that happened, the stuff that happened with George Floyd, and YouTube was trying to really kind of present themselves with Black voices and Black creators. And so he was kind of one of the ones that was again ascending at that time. They really poured into him. And so after that George Floyd incident, they had this thing where they were trying to elevate these Black voices, and they were giving these Black creators on YouTube money to either make films or documentary or whatever work they wanted. And so they gave us money to do a film, and it was funny because Glenn was like, "Hey, you have a script?" And I was like,
he just asked you straight up.
Yeah, I was like, bro, give me 48 hours.
Are you serious?
And so I wrote the script.
How many pages?
About 10 pages. Yeah,
bro,
about 10 pages.
That's legit.
And And then like 3 days later, we're in a room with Michael B. Jordan's sister and like all this, and like they're like asking all these questions, and I'm like Googling stuff. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, you know what I mean? And so, but yeah, they gave us money to do this film, and it did really well, super awesome. A couple years later, we did another film called June's Crown, which was actually a story about Glenn's sister.
Were these released on YouTube, or they released somewhere else?
The first one was released. Yeah, the first one was released on YouTube. And there was like because they had like a virtual, because it was still during COVID, so it had like a virtual like film festival type of a deal. And then the second one that we did was called June's Crown. That one actually hasn't been released on YouTube, but it was in the African American Film Festival. We flew out to Miami, Florida.
Wow.
It was a honorary selection.
You said that was about Glenn's sister?
Glenn's sister, who, she passed away from cancer in 23, I believe it was. And so it was a story about kind of black hair and just the significance of going through the struggle of cancer. And it was just really a love story to his sister. And it was a really powerful story. So that was actually a story that he wrote that I got to direct. I got to direct that film.
Was it live action?
Yeah. So we had actors, we had a crew, had about a 15-person crew. We actually shot it all here in San Diego, which was pretty dope. And took us about 3 days to shoot it. And then, it was about probably, I think the total runtime ended up being like 17-minute short film.
That's a pretty long short film.
Yeah. That's awesome. Again, like, it's funny because, you think about features or like 40-minute films, and I'm like, man, that's a lot of work. And again, I would love to do it one day. But yeah, even just doing the stuff that we've done, it's been a blessing. I've been able to, I feel like the doors and opportunities that I've been in, you kind of, I don't know if you ever had this moment where you're like, I don't know how I got in the room, but if they all found out, like,
bro, I was about to say that. I feel like when you told me Googling things, there's definitely a moment where maybe you shouldn't be in some rooms, and I think it doesn't necessarily like. There's been moments where like actually like not only should I not be here, like I'm gonna get up and walk away, but I think part of what you're talking about too, that moment where you look around like, I get here, like that's the beauty of following Jesus, and that's that tension. Like you couldn't have planned, you couldn't have been like, this year I'm going to do X, Y, and Z because I'm going to work really hard.
Right.
That's that like touch of grace. That's just like, hey, hold up, George. Like, watch what I'm going to do. Yeah. Like you keep doing your thing, and I think there's definitely been moments where working with somebody or meeting with somebody in LA where I'm like, hey, dude. Yeah. Like I'm not sure. Maybe they do know as well as I know. But like, I'm, like that's you're talking to me.
Imposter syndrome. Yes. You know what I mean? And
or like, disassociation.
Yeah.
And you got to be careful too, because like other side of it, and I think that's what's beautiful about being a follower of Jesus. Like, oh wait, I'm gonna work hard, but also I recognize none of this is earned. For sure, is all given. One thing that we talk about, like my parents. One of the things that I learned a lot from my parents was just walking with confidence. Like I've always, when I'm in a space or I'm around people, I'm not, I'm like, look, you're cool and you're successful at what you do, but like, I don't know, I feel like God's given me gifts and things. And so I always walk with confidence. And so when you're in it, sometimes you don't really realize it, but then there's moments where you kind of are like, wait a minute, I am a kind of bit over my skis right now. This is kind of a wild scenario to be in. But, like, I feel like I've, at least in that season, was just really blessed. I feel like I was just being really faithful. And again, within the span of like 14 days, went from never had written a short film to I'm in a room having conversations with like Hollywood execs, and they're like, this is really good, and I'm going like, hey, you're asking a lot of questions about script and formatting that I have no idea what you're talking about, and now they're like greenlighting us to go into production for a film. And so you can't you're right, you can't like predict that stuff. You can't like manufacture that stuff. Like I think you just work on being faithful, and God just opens doors when He opens doors. And my dad used to say, "You stay ready. You don't have to get ready." You know what I mean? And so it's like you do your best to stay ready. And I'm in no way taking credit or saying that it's because of something that I did or whatever. It's just like, hey man, I love the craft of filmmaking. I love it. I stay up till 1 a.m. watching the randomest like college courses and the most boring like film breakdowns because I love it. It's the love of the game, right? Yeah. Like again, that's what keeps you
Kobe,
going,
right? It's like guys want to go out to the clubs and do all this stuff. It's like, no, he loved working out. He loved the game. It's like when you find something that you love to do, it's like, yeah, like I got a shoot tomorrow at 6 a.m. and it's like, I can't wait. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are the things that you just enjoy doing. And then you just don't know when the break's gonna come. You have no idea when the break's gonna come. And if it never comes, like, it's cool. Like, I just love doing what
passion.
I love what I'm doing.
Bro, I cannot wait to introduce you to my brother Jesse.
What's the last name?
McKinney.
Okay. Oh, your brother. Okay.
You're good. You guys are gonna like the way that you two will talk about film in the corner for 4 hours.
Sure.
I'll just walk away. I love film too, but you guys, he's been in the film industry for a long time.
Man.
I was in.
Is he older?
Yeah, he's older than me.
Cool.
He's 36.
Okay.
I was in executive producer on one of his films. Basically, just gave him a few $100s, and he let me read the scripts.
We love.
And we've worked on a couple projects together, very minor, but he's done way more than me.
Sure.
But he wrote and directed and produced his own feature film that
That's incredible,
ended up going to the Richmond Film Festival. Like, from him and I, just crazy that he did it.
Yeah.
He's like, every film was a
miracle.
miracle.
How long ago was this?
2019.
Okay.
And he's worked on a bunch of other projects.
Sure.
Obviously.
Where's he based out of?
He's now based out of San Diego. He basically oversees like production at the church my parents pastor.
Okay, cool.
And he also helps with this. Basically,
that's surprising. We haven't crossed paths.
He does marketing for and like production for this like big firm in Del Mar that does real estate, and then he still does like he's a painter. I could talk about him for days.
For sure.
He's like,
baby.
He practically raised me. But I cannot wait to introduce you guys because I'm sure you guys will end up doing projects together.
Yeah, man.
He's like the way that you talk about film.
Sure.
He'll talk about film. I'm like, bro, to be honest with you, I love it. But
I checked out 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Like,
I just asked you about the latest movie in the theater. You know what to go with,
in the best way. It was like,
sure.
that's the kind of conversation I want to have. Like, every time I talk to him, we're talking about something. He's like, hey, so let me tell you about this.
Yeah. My wife is.
Have you seen
my
that?
wife's like, hey,
nah,
you know
bro.
what, babe? I don't want to talk about it like that. I just wanted to know, did you want to watch the show? I was like, yeah.
It's like, no, I didn't know that guy was a cinematographer. I didn't know that director trained that actor. And I didn't even know half those words you talked about and like the way a screenplay is written, to be honest with you. I didn't know what a smash cut was. I just think it sounds cool.
Right. Yeah. That's cool, man.
We dope. Yeah, but I'll make sure to link you guys.
Yeah, man. I love it. And so, that's for me, like, those are the things that right now I'm super invested in. I love being involved at my church. I feel like I'll always be involved as long as they have me at the church and being involved in certain leaderships. But yeah, like right now, so much of my role is it's overseeing people, and I'm more kind of
leadership.
Yeah, it's a lot of leadership, and like it's been great. So my pastor Jeff, who was going to be here today but couldn't, but we have.
He hates us.
No.
I'm kidding.
Him and I have such a sweet relationship, and I can be honest with him. And he is such a believer in creatives. Like, he is a creatives pastor. He's been that for decades, and he is one of the biggest proponents in my corner for me to go into the mission field that God's called me into. Mm-hmm. And so it's been sweet because I feel like in this last season I've been very faithful in like my vocational ministry setting, but also knowing that most likely that's probably not my forever vocation. But I know that I've worked very hard in that space. I've given the Lord every ounce of my being and been as diligent as I possibly have been and trusting His timing. And so that's why I feel like I get to pastor creatives and get to love and foster a lot of really awesome relationships with the creatives. I feel like I've just been really faithful in that space. And like I said earlier, I just have a heart for, I'm a person who would not be doing the stuff that I'm doing in the film scene without the local church. Mm-hmm. And so, I've got, again, I've been doing this for a long time. I've got interns of mine who are off doing Netflix films. I've got interns of mine who are working for the vans and working for these agencies and working for, stuff. Like, I've been able to see people that I quote unquote discipled, like be in the mission field and like use their gifts and talents to create, a livelihood for themselves, but also like create relationships with people and point people back to Jesus, which to me is just like the dopest thing. Yeah. And so I really wish the church, the Global C Church, is actually a conversation we're having on another platform but is like, there's a gold rush of creativity that the global church should be a part of. And we're not where we're supposed to be. and it breaks my heart because, the church used to be the epicenter of art and creativity.
Absolutely.
And we should be there still. We should be there still. And so, I've, again, just perspective and been around for a little bit. I've seen a lot of guys who I looked up to from a more so from a video and film space, but just a creative space in the church. That over the last 7 or 8 years, there's been a lot of exodus from the church, and I think that has a lot to do with just an unpreparedness and just a bad stewardship of the church and creatives. And I feel like we've got to be much more attentive to that. And I think that God is moving in a way that the media, arts, creativity is going to be essential for the church in this next season. And we've got to, back to the point, we got to get ready because we're not ready right now as a global city. And I say that as that's not a criticism of any singular house, but just as a church.
It's more just looking at what's actually happening with an authentic, pure view. Hey, if we're being honest, and I think this is something that actually caused our friendship to spark from that first conversation. For sure. You and I are both really passionate about storytelling and the predominant way churches are telling stories today. Really anyone, but specifically churches, is their website, their YouTube, and their Instagram, and the content that they're proliferating, because that is how people are finding their spouse. That is how people are finding friends. That's how people are finding businesses they're going to support. That's how people are finding the clothing brands for the clothes that they wear. That's how people are finding everything. And so guys like you and I are just kind of looking around, wait, I'm not a kid anymore.
Right.
I know I'm not the gray-haired wisdom guy, but I've been around long enough to be able to look and say, hey, the way that not every church and not every creative, but the way that the capital C church has treated creatives over the last 20 years needs, at the very least, a strong adjustment. Because I think, most pastors, most executive leaders wouldn't be trying to do this, but the lack of understanding and insider knowledge for what it takes to get things done on a production standpoint, design, web, it's just,
it's ignorance.
The understanding, they just don't see it. They 100%. Don't see it.
Yeah.
And I think the onus is now on humans like you and humans like me in the way that we can to say, hey, we need to give creatives the space to create. We need to put them in position to thrive.
Give them
need
resources.
To build culture and
we
team.
Need to build the right environment for creatives to do what they do best. And it's like we have
can't
a
treat
lot
them
of
like
people.
Another staff member.
No.
They need to be treated as an artist.
They're not pastored well.
It doesn't mean they can do whatever they want.
Creatives for a while have not been pastored well, and they've not been resourced well, and they're not being listened to. And so that's why a lot of these young men and women have, and most of them, again, I could give you dozens of names of people, again, I get to quote unquote talk to a pastor, but they try and hold on for as long as they can. They love their church. They love their community. They wanted to see their gifts used, and they've tried for a long time. And after a while, they just go, I can't. And they
can't
leave.
Keep up.
They can't keep up.
Because the process to get it done and what it takes out of their heart and soul to get it done and the amount of time that they're allotted doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I think being a volunteer or being paid a certain amount is actually okay depending upon the actual church setting or context.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there are some things that cannot be accomplished with the expectations that are given. And I think ideally what we'll see, and because I agree, I think we're both optimists here, is that art and creativity will come back to what is the church.
It's crazy, bro.
In a new way.
In a month span, I'll have because again, I've been around this area for a long time, a lot of different churches, and been kind of around. In a month span, I'll get 3 or 4 different churches. Oh, hey, do you have a creative person that we're looking for? We're trying to find, you know what I mean? And I'm like, man, it's crazy because a lot of these churches are just, whatever, they're coming back and they're trying to fill these spots and fill these roles. And I'm like, man, it's just interesting. It feels like the church is catching up to there's a need for creatives, a need for people who understand media and different things like that. But, so many of the conversations I'm having with these pastors or whatever is I'm going, well, man, is your environment even conclusive for you to hire someone right now? Because if I'm sending someone your way and your infrastructure isn't ready, doesn't have the capacity to do what it needs to be done, it's not just hiring someone. You want to keep someone. You want to be able to, you know what I mean? Or at least create an environment where people want to stay. And we're not having enough of those conversations for sure.
And ideally, we'll have more.
That's the goal, man. That's the goal.
I think, first of all, we need to do this again.
I'm with it.
And I think ideally, we don't necessarily have to wait this long, but we have to, Matt, put it in the calendar. When San Diego State plays, let's do a podcast that day.
I'm with it, bro.
And then go to a state game that night.
Yeah,
and
bro.
Hopefully Reese Waters will change our offense next season.
Okay.
But shout out Miles Bird and Magoon. They'll do well as well. But I have to say, I think a good way for us to end this,
Sure.
I think you have a unique perspective on it, would be what we're doing at the end of each radio session. You just talk to this camera. I think it'd be awesome if you kind of gave an encouragement to the leadership side of church creative. So whether it be an actual creative pastor, creative director, or maybe someone who doesn't really have the understanding but would like to improve, what encouragement would you give that person who's leading creatives in a church environment so that they can do it well and do what we're talking about, which is really coming down to leading with culture and stewardship so creatives can thrive and be healthy and not have that burnout and disdain that often happens. It's not every church, but it's for sure happening too much.
Yeah. Man, what I would say is to the church creative out there, whether it's a vocational job or whether it's a hobby, whether it's volunteer, whether you're in the field, like what I would tell you is like the church needs you. God has called creatives. God has called those who love the arts, love telling stories, to use their gifts to impact the kingdom. And so because of that, because there is a need, because there's a great harvest, it's time for us to wake up. I think it's time for us to get ready. The past is the past, but right now there is a gold rush. There is opportunities. Again, we could go into what we're seeing from big studios, from Netflix and Amazon, and people who are willing to invest, people who are willing to resource faith-based content, and the church should be at the epicenter of that. And so there's an importance of serving your house and serving what's happening in your church home. But I also think it's time for us to kind of dream bigger and to believe that we can, what was done before, we can do something different. And for those who are called to lead creatives and to pastor them, to, whether from an organizational standpoint or whatever, your voice is so needed, and I think that the thing that right now is probably missing the most is community. The amount of times I meet with creatives and talk to them, what they're starving for is community. It's conversations like this. It's people that you can call on, people you can vent to, people you can ask for help and resources. And the response is, of course, I'm with you, I'm for you, let me pray for you. And so I think we as a creative community need to be much more intentional in this next season to build community. And so that we can learn to love on each other really well. And so, I'll just say, I think there is a very real, imminent creative gold rush that's coming. And we as a church don't want to miss it. We don't want to be left behind because I think God's going to use it to not just create great art and things like that, but to reach people that are desperate for him. And that's a great commission, right? That's ultimately like what we do, why we do what we do is so that people far from God can experience the goodness of God. And I think the media, creativity, filmmaking, music, design, fashion, I think that's going to be the next frontier that God uses to spark his people and to spark people who are far from him. So yeah, I just think, again, be on guard, dream, wake up, and building community. There's people who are hungry for this and want to encourage you to be who God's called you to be.
Bro, so good. Love you. And I just got to echo what you're saying. I think anyone who's trying to just do better, regardless of whether things are going great or not, I think you hit the nail on the head. Just build community with people who care about curating art in whatever medium. Build community because that's what church is for anyway.
That's right.
Foster that and see what happens. We're optimists. It's going to get better, not worse. And bro,
have faith.
Let's go, man.
Come on, man.
What a day.
I love it, dude.
Let's go. Love you, bro.
Yeah,
Thank you for being here. We're going to do it again.
I'll look forward to it.
What a day.
Yeah.
Let's go. Peace, everybody.